Welcome to this session of Frontend to the Edge. And in this session, we have our special guest. His name is Boaz. He is front-end developer at Red Hat, and I am software engineer at Baikia, and I'm currently doing freelancing little bit. And Boaz will discuss about building UI in an XState, and I will discuss about micro frontend. So my topic is a little bit theoretical. We will not look into practical stuff. So first of all, I will start this session, and then boys will cover his session, right? So we divided this session into two parts: the micro frontend part and building UI in XState part. So before jumping to this tutorial, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. So let's start our first part, which is the micro frontend part. So first of all, what is a micro frontend? What is micro frontend architecture, right? The micro frontend architecture is the idea of extending the microservices to the front-end development, right? So we already have microservices idea, like currently for backend and for like different services like Node.js. We can create different services for backend, but we don't like have any idea on the front end side. So someone in 2015 introduces this architecture known as micro front end architecture. In this architecture, we divide our front end into like different parts so that we can merge them later on. Okay, so this is the whole idea about micro front end. It is a technique, strategies, and recipe for building modern web app with multiple teams that can ship features independently. So the problem with monolith front end was that like our team was unable to ship features whole front end independently. So the advantage of micro front end over monolith front end is that we can ship our features independently, right? So when we develop microservices architecture, we can easily see that our front end is monolith, right? When we work with microservices architecture, the one problem which we face is our backend is completely in microservices architecture. Like we have different services on the backend side, but we also observe that we don't have any service on front end side, right? It caused a lot of problems because now our front end is monolith, and when a new developers come to the front end side, he becomes psycho, right? To be honest. So that is the advantage of micro front end. We can ship or we can develop each front end separately. For example, we can build some functionality in Vue.js, we can develop some functionality in AngularJS, and we can develop some functionalities in React.js. So the advantage of this will be that we can hire when we hire a new developer, he don't need to learn the whole front end, whole monolith front end. He only need to learn the specific front end. So this is the advantage of micro front end. After micro front end, now we can easily work in pairs with a team of microservices. So for this point, let's see our next slide, right? So as you can see in the image, we have we have divided this into three teams. Like the team with the red border is team product, which manages the whole product, right? Which is responsible for rendering the whole kind of stuff, right? And then we have a team checkout, which is responsible for like a payment and like a checkout type of stuff, like how many dollars it will cost, and it will check out to the like Stripe APIs and different type of payment APIs. So the red is about team product. They are developing it in Angular, and the team checkout is developing in React, right? And the team inspire. Team inspire is basically the related products, like which inspire the user to buy these or these stuff, right? So As you can see in this image, these three teams are working separately with microservices theme, right? So so the advantage of working with microservices theme on front end side will be that when we develop one service, we actually like develop front end of it. We don't develop whole monolith front end. We first develop first phase, then a first service, or you can say a first service or first micro front end, then we develop another micro front end, and then we develop another micro front end. So so the advantage of this, now we can work with our microservices team. As you can see in this graph, we can work with end-to-end teams with micro frontend. By using micro frontend, we can work with our microservices team end-to-end. For example, we have team Inspire. When its backend will be ready and database will be ready, we will ready the front end, right? And team Search, when its backend will be ready and database will be ready, then we can easily ready our front end for that. So all of these we will be doing this with our backend team of microservices. So so the micro frontend team will be working in parallel with the microservices team, right? So they both are now parallel. So the problem which we mostly face when we work with micro frontend is that it's very hard to actually be in sync with the backend team when we work with monolith frontend. But now we have micro frontend, so now we can be in sync with our backend team as well. So if you want to learn more about micro frontend, this is the website microfrontend.org, where you can learn more about micro frontend architecture. And if you want to see the practical examples of micro frontend architecture, I recently published an article on Medium. So it was featured in JavaScript as well. So I will share that article link in the description. In this article, I actually worked with four create React application, right? I actually created 4 different front end for create React app. So let me show you a little bit about it. I am not digging into the practical stuff, but I have actually a few GIF files. So that, see, this is our first micro front end, and then this is our next micro front end, the second one, right? And this is our third micro front end. And last but not least, we need an app container to render everything, like which we previously seen that Angular in the previous example was an app container. So app container will be responsible to actually render all the microservices, right? So our app container, see, as you can see in this example, this is a micro front-end example. This is the complete GIF where when I click on micro frontend 1, it returns micro frontend 1, and when I click on micro frontend 2, it actually returns the micro frontend from our second app, and when I click on micro frontend 3, it returns the micro frontend 3, right? So this was all about micro frontend. And okay, so now that's all from my side. Let's learn from Boaz. Bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Boaz, and I'm going to talk about using XState in your UI. XState is a JavaScript and TypeScript library that allows you to use finite state machines and state charts in your web application. You probably want to use finite state machines when you're dealing with very complex and difficult user interfaces. In this talk, I probably won't be able to show you its real power, but I'm going to describe and give you an example of how you can use that library for your own projects. And hopefully you will find it very useful and try to use it in your work. If you're not familiar with finite state machines and state charts, I do recommend you to look for David Korshad on YouTube. He has plenty of videos talking about that idea and how to make you write better UIs and save you time when you need to debug. In general, I liked this video, Infinitely Better UIs with Finite Automata. It's very useful, and I think it really put a lot of emphasis on what is state machine and how you can beneficial from them. So without further ado, I think we should start with writing our own state machine. So I started with a machine called my own machine, which is basically it's what the machine function is returning, and we are passing to the machine function a configuration of our state machine. What is really necessary in order to create a machine is an ID, initial, which is the initial state that when we start the machine, we're gonna begin in that state, and states, all the different states in our state machine. So let's, for example, create a state machine of loading a new page. So when we are loading a new page, we are always starting with the loading state, which is basically seeing a spinner running. We also have the ideal state, which is what we have when the page is completed loading the information from the backend. But we also have a state when the fetching of the data was unsuccessful. It could be because we sent a bad request, or there was an internal error. In this case, I will create a state called failure. Let me update now. As you can see here, we have three states: loading, ideal, and failure. Please notice that we are now in the loading state, and this is because that was specified here. If I'll change it to ideal, ideal will be selected when I'm clicking on update. So we have the states. Now we need to create links or transition between them. For example, in the loading state, we can move to the ideal if the fetching was completed successfully, or we can jump to failure if there was an error. If I click update, you will see those transitions. And if I click done, I'll move to ideal. Or if I click error, I'll move to failure. But we might want to refresh when we are in the ideal state. So let's create that event or action. So now, if I click done, you'll see I'm in the ideal state. If I click refresh, I'll go back to loading. Same thing is going to happen if I click error, I'll be in the failure state. And in this case, I might want to retry and fetch the data again. I keep forgetting to put those actions under the on attribute. So if I hide this, if I click done and click refresh, I'll go back to loading. If I click error and then retry again, I'll go back to loading. So now that I have my state, I can now use it in my UI. Let's do this. So I have my Create React app running right now. Let's go to the website. Let me change the UI. I'm going to remove this. Before I can use XState in my React app, I need to do the following things. I need to install XState and XState React. Also, I installed AntDesign, which is a React library for UI. But it's not necessary. Let's go back to the code. So now that we have XState, I'm going to get the machine. And I'm gonna copy paste what I wrote right here. So now that I have my machine, I want to use it in